Hi everyone, let's start off with a quick disclaimer. The safety of kitchen knives is up to the user, what knives they choose and how they use them. So this video is just my opinions. I'm just sharing what I think might be useful to someone and someone who's looking to maybe be a little more safe with kitchen knives. This is just my experience. I'm not trying to tell you that this is definitely the thing that you should do. You just need to use common sense. I've worked in kitchens before. I'm not a professional chef. When I was about 18, I worked in a few kitchens for a short while. I heard this quite a few times from several people. And this is, in my opinion, a myth, but that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And my opinion here is just about the way that I use knives. So maybe for other people's uses, everything I say in this video is going to be bullshit. But my opinion is that this myth of sharp knives being safer to use than dull knives, or the way I've heard it is a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife. Bullshit, I think. Now, it really depends on how sharp you call sharp. And so my opinion is, my experience is, I've never cut myself on a dull knife. That just sounds ridiculous to me. And, I use knives all the time. I've been cooking since I was a little kid. A dull knife that has some slight serrations, and when I say dull, it has to be the correct amount of dull, and that's up to you to decide what you think the correct amount is, because I can't measure the amount of sharpness and tell you how sharp that is. But my experience is that you can have a knife that's the correct amount of dullness that it won't cut into your hand, right? So this is not, whatever I'm doing with this, it's not cutting into my hand. I can be as careless with this as I want. Unless I try and saw into my hand, it's not gonna cut me. Unless I really try, but under general use, it's not cutting me, right? Same with this one. It's not cutting me. It's this one's a tiny bit sharper, but yeah, you can tell it's I can use it fairly safely without cutting myself. But because it's slightly serrated, it's totally fine for actually cutting food. And I've cut meat with this as well. With meat, it takes a little more effort. But if it's too dull, it won't do anything. If it's a butter knife, nothing's going to happen to that tomato. If it's too sharp, then it will obviously cut you. So it has to be the correct amount in between them. Now, I do still believe that a non-serrated dull knife might be safer than a sharp knife. That's still my opinion, but you can't use a dull non-serrated knife. It's a pain in the ass. This one, which I showed in the previous video, which I use as, it's not a kitchen knife. I use it as a novelty kitchen knife just because I think it looks really cool. Same thing with this. I mean, it's intended to be a kitchen knife, but I bought it purely because I think it looks cool, or mainly because I think it looks cool. Just because, like I said, I'm not a professional chef. I'm cooking for fun, and I do cook very often. So for me, knives are just sort of just a fun thing to use in the kitchen. So I like to have nice ones. So okay, once again with this, I'm not having to press very hard. Tiny bit more than. No, I'm having to press the same amount between this and that. And then, like I said, this one's not sharp. That one will, if I do that to my hand with that one, it will cut me. So with this one, it's, you can press cut a little bit, but mostly, you're doing a very slight sort of forward motion or backwards motion. But it cuts just fine. Same thing with this. But it's dull enough that it won't cut me. And so, I can do it like this with that. And this one I keep medium. So this one I wouldn't press very hard against my fingers. I wouldn't start playing around with this and my hand. Because this one I keep sort of, I don't sharpen it too much, but I don't keep it like super dull or whatever. So with this one, press cutting, got to put a bit more pressure down, but I don't know, I think it works fine. For cutting, that's my opinion. Let's try and chop up a banana. So with this one, with the other two knives, I was doing press cuts. So with this one, with the banana, no, it doesn't press very well. Nope, that's squishing it. But if I'm making a very slight forward motion, no problem. And another thing with this is if you choose one like this, you will most likely have to buy a sharp one and then dull it down yourself, because I don't know of any company that sells knives that are specifically medium sharpness. So not like this amount of sharpness that I'm describing in this video. So once again, this one, and so this one has large serrations, similar to a bread knife, but it's more wavy than a bread knife. The one I'm using here is not really serrations like that on a bread knife. It's more wavy. I don't know exactly what that's called. Maybe if someone knows, let me know in the comments. I've had this for I don't even know how many years. Same with this one. They're just two really old knives. And finding one that doesn't have a sharp tip, which I think is also an important safety feature. So let's chop with this one. This one's chopping through fine. It's because it's really big serrations, it's not necessarily going through all the way down to the end if I don't make that movement. So if I make that movement, then it actually cuts all the way through. And for me, this is totally fine. And whether that's going to cut my hand, no. I'd have to press, with this one, like I said, it's a tiny bit sharper than that one. If I press hard into my hand and try and cut myself, then it will. Under regular use, especially like just there where my fingers normally are, it won't. I'm going to say it again. You have to choose the correct sharpness. If it's too sharp, it's going to cut you. So, okay, let's, tomato. Okay, so that one, it's a little bit of a harder tomato, and that one was a little more difficult, but it's still fine. And with this one, yeah, that's fine. A little more effort than I would have had to do with this one or this one, but very safe in my opinion. Now let's chop some mother flippin' cheese. And I do apologize if you hear a bit of noise from my neighbors. They're cutting something, or I don't know. But with this one, fine. Press cuts, fine. With this one. And that was 2 slices, the same as I've done in the 2 reviews of these 2 that I just filmed, which you'll find links to in the links below. So that worked fine. Chopping this down into smaller pieces. You might notice here that I'm being very uncareful. I'm accidentally scraping my hand with it, and it's not cutting into me. So you might even be able to cut more quickly with this than with a sharp knife, because you don't have to be all that careful. Even though it's not necessarily going to be easier, I don't know, that's really just going to depend on you and how you use it. Here you can see that it's not creating like it's not chopping quite as well as a big knife like that, but it's okay. It's certainly usable, certainly in my opinion the safest option out of, if you're going to choose between that and that. In my opinion, that's so much safer. So thanks for watching, guys. Use common sense. Don't stab yourself in the hand, because that's not good for you. And thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. I'm going to eat some food. Nom, 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 nom.